Listen, man, this did not take long at all, did it? Look, Trump said that he ain't going for it. He gonna put 100% tariffs on them. And guess what? They folded like a paper bag. This is crazy work. I can't believe this. Even Putin, man, like, he don't even want the smoke. China gonna get tariff 10%. He hitting Canada. He hitting Mexico with 25%. But literally, Putin said, we ain't doing nothing that's gonna deflate the dollar, take away from the dollar. We ain't trying to get that 100% tariff. That shit happened in 24 hours. That's the power of the United States when we put our foot down, man. We stand tall. That's what happened. Now, we'll see how these tariffs go. Again, the future is the future. We don't know. It could be good, it could be bad. But as of right now, the dollar has its dominance, and we'll see how long that lasts.
Donald Trump and Kevin O'Leary are in talks for the U.S. Economic Union to join Canada and the United States, two economies. Watch this all the way to the end.
The two biggest opportunities that Trump's going to relight, in my estimation, is number one, the XL pipeline renamed. And so to get that deal done, you need Alberta, obviously. That's Danielle Smith. She's on board for that. You need Kevin Stitt in Oklahoma. You need Chris Wright, the new energy czar. And, of course, Doug Burgum, who's the guy that's all about innovation. That would be number one, because you've already got the infrastructure. You've got the plants. You've got the refineries. They're already set up. You just need to plug them together with the pipeline that should be now called the Freedom Pipeline.
Exactly.
Number two, which interests me the most, open it up. That was at the beginning of Trump's last mandate. Charge a 20% royalty to reduce just one thing, the national debt. And drill, baby, drill in the ANWR.
Drill, baby,
it's one
drill.
of the largest pools of energy left on Earth. Why are we not taking advantage of it with the new technologies that are so green to extract it? The most interesting proposal he's put forward in the last 48 hours is Canada. There's 41 million Canadians, basically the population of California, sitting on the world's largest amounts of resources, including the most important, energy and water. Canadians, over the holidays, the last 2 days, have been talking about this. They want to hear more. And so, there's obviously a lot of issues, more details, but what this could be is the beginning of an economic union. Think about the power of combining the two economies, erasing the border between Canada and the United States, and putting all that resource up to the northern borders where China and Russia are knocking on the door. So secure that, give a common currency, figure out taxes across the board, get everything trading both ways, create a new, almost EU-like passport. I like this idea, and at least half of Canadians are interested. The problem is the government's collapsing in Canada right now. Nobody wants Trudeau to negotiate this deal. I don't want him doing it for me, so I'm going to go to Mar-a-Lago. Start the narrative. The 41 million Canadians, I think most of them would trust me on this deal.
Hey, let me tell you, man. Contrary to popular belief, if you see something on social media that says that the Canadians don't want no part of it, that's not 100% true, because there are Canadians who do. Because if you don't know, Canadians are up to here in taxes, and they tired of it, and they looking for a change.
We have some news right now. The Trump administration has completely shut down the USAID website, which is the agency responsible for humanitarian assistance around the world.
No. USAID is not just a humanitarian aid organization. It is a front in order to run covert intelligence ops around the world to do coups and regime change operations and all kinds of other criminal activities. In the mid-2000s, USAID was exposed for building a, quote, fake Cuban Twitter designed to lure in young users and slowly feed them anti-government content to spark protests. USAID was also involved in the 2014 coup in Ukraine, which some argue has led to the war in Russia now. And this stuff goes back decades and decades and decades. In 1973, USAID helped pump in millions of dollars to overthrow a democratically elected leader, Salvador Allende, to install a dictatorship that would be more friendly to the U.S. interests. The organization is also involved in other sketchy activities like this, pause to read, and also this. Very interesting rabbit hole if you want to go down it. All the while, USAID was actively pressuring media organizations around the world to censor certain narratives. My point is, I'm sure there are some people on the ground doing good work at USAID. I'm sure there's good people doing good work. But at its core, it is a criminal organization. I just thought people would benefit from knowing this context.
Una cosa importante, que es una decisión que adopté y se la comuniqué. El memorándum de entendimiento del año 2017 sobre la ruta de la seda the Belt and Road Initiative no será renovado por mi gobierno. Eso es así. Vamos a estudiar la posibilidad de si se puede terminar antes o no, pero creo que le toca en 1 o 2 años la renovación, porque es cada 3. Así que esa iniciativa que se firmó, cuando se firmó, en el tiempo que se firmó, no será renovada por mi gobierno. Creo que esta visita abre un camino para construir una nueva etapa de relaciones. Así lo veo yo, así lo sentí de parte del secretario Marco Rubio, y a la vez tratar la medida de lo posible de que se incrementen las inversiones de los Estados Unidos en Panamá. Le expliqué una serie de proyectos de infraestructura que el gobierno tiene en carpeta, en cartera, con el ánimo de que las conozcan y en su momento que se hagan las licitaciones, que comenzarán muy pronto, pues se pueda entrar.
And for context, for those who don't know, so Panama, they own the biggest pathway and route for the trading industry right now, and America used to own it, but they let it go years ago, and Trump just got it back. Go look it up. It's called the Panama Canal, one of the biggest waterways. Well, I ain't gonna say the biggest waterway, but yeah, it's a big waterway that cuts time of shipping goods and products around the world in half. And you got to think about all of this stuff that Trump is doing is for the betterment of this country. See, we were the lead in the trading industry once upon a time, but somehow over time we lost that. Once a country loses its grip in the trade industry, it doesn't get respect, at least doesn't get the respect it deserves. And Trump is getting this country the respect that it deserves. And if it gets the respect that it deserves, then guess who benefits from it? The people.
We're finding out ways to expedite this. Because of our gender balance provisions on this next ballot, you will be able to vote for 2 candidates of any gender on the next ballot. Okay? So on this next ballot, you will be able to vote for 2 candidates of any gender on the next ballot. If 2 candidates receive, I'm going to turn to Helen to clarify this last part.
You are in this next ballot where you have 2 votes. As the chair has said, you may vote for 2 males, 2 females, 2 of any gender, okay? Nope, you can't do that because we've got to balance. You could vote for 1 of any gender, okay? Or no, non-binary gender, excuse me. It is late, okay?
That's embarrassing, man. That is embarrassing. Elected officials or people in super important positions like that, that's supposed to help the people understand what's happening in front of them, can't even explain it because they don't know their jobs. And as you can see, it's a black and a white person. So it's not color based. It's all because they removed merit and they put DEI there. So nobody literally had to know their job. But because Trump is replacing everything with merit, you now have to be highly skilled to get these jobs. And this is exactly what he was talking about.
Possibly more of an observation, but I'm interested to hear all of your thoughts. We are all very lucky that we are across the channel and we are the far side of Europe. But Ukraine is actually much closer than all of us think.
For the record, page 55 from the committee's interview with FBI employee Roya Demlow, who you just spoke about, which took place on July 17, 2023. In that line, she says, the question was asked, okay, if someone were to leave here today, were to leave this interview and were to suggest or imply that when you said the laptop was real, that it meant that the FBI had affirmatively determined in October 2020 that the laptop belonged to Hunter Biden.
One of the things I've learned in my tenure in the Senate is that a nominee saying that they're willing to work with me amounts to exactly 0. We need to get this fixed. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we've seen some of those clips before, and it could simply be echolalia. I mean, if you don't know what that is, look it up.
The CEO and founder of a Fresno County dairy at the center of a raw milk recall could soon become a health advisor to the Trump administration. Today, Mark McAfee confirmed to Action News he has applied for an advisory role at the Food and Drug Administration at the urging of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. President-elect Trump nominated RFK Jr. to serve as the U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services. McAfee owns Raw Farms and says RFK has been a longtime customer who now is urging him to help create standards for getting raw milk safely on store shelves across the country.
And then they called me back and confirmed that I'd actually had that application was submitted and told me thank you very much. It was just a waiting game now to see what happens if RFK is confirmed and whether the team for Make America Healthy Again is confirmed and going forward.
Recently, state and federal health experts detected the bird flu virus in milk samples from McAfee's farm. And this week, the California Department of Public Health secured a voluntary recall for all raw milk and cream products from that company. No human bird flu cases associated with the products have ever been confirmed to date. And McAfee maintains drinking raw milk is safe.
Look, I'm not against what people may do with their bodies or whatever. I just know I can't drink raw milk. Heck, I can't drink milk, period, unless it's almond milk. That's the only milk I can drink. Now, they did say that even though they detected bird flu in that milk, none of the cases were confirmed. So that could all be a psyop to get this man's milk not put in the stores.
America is finally healing. James Charles is getting canceled for making fun of RFK.
No offense, but why does RFK sound like that? How many packs of cigarettes a day do you have to smoke to?
Wait a minute. I think that guy right there who was recently accused of, raping or groping little kids.
Even get to that level of throat pain. Like, you're trying to convince us that he's going to be the Secretary of Health? Doesn't seem very healthy to me. I support the measles vaccine. Spit it out, Grandpa. Are you good? Jesus fucking Christ.
Now, personally, I don't have any problem with people making fun of people's genders or race or sexuality or anything. Neither does RFK, who literally did stand up on Kill Tony, which makes fun of him all the time. And you'd think, coming from a guy who literally sucks, for a living, he would know a thing or two about throat issues. That would be if he had any time to research, because he's pretty much always caught up just defending his allegations against messaging kids. James, instead of making fun of RFK's voice, which is caused by a neurological disorder, you should probably worry about your own neurological disorder of wanting to fuck kids.
Nah, and real soon, you about to see that become a mental issue again. Because in the 60s, it was deemed a mental issue. And it's probably going to happen again.
So the tariffs are already working. Two of Canada's fastest growing food companies are now planning to move their operations to the United States. You have Midday Squares and Flourish Pancakes, and most of their customers are in the United States. Midday Squares currently has a plant in Montreal, but now they're like, what does Ohio look like? Missouri and Wisconsin. And the owner put it very simply, we need the US as a business. Maybe people aren't understanding, but there's a difference between Canadian politicians and Canadian businesses. The politicians will react one way to the tariffs, but the business people sit down and analyze logically. They're already paying stupidly high corporate taxes in Canada, and if they left and came here, they would save half of their money overnight. Plus, they'll now have free access to the biggest consumer market in the world, and they have a pro-business federal government. Why would you stay in Canada? That's the whole point of President Trump's plan. Guess what's going to happen next? Those car companies that are making their cars in Canada, they're just going to go back to Detroit and make their cars in the United States. And we're not doing this to destroy Canada. We're doing this to level the playing field. They've taken advantage of us for far too long. We've been subsidizing their national defenses and their economies, and it's finally time we put Americans first.
RFK Jr. says that black people should be getting different medication than white people because there's more antigens in our blood. And this got this black senator extremely upset on social media and said, I will not be voting for you. Now, nobody, even though we have the right to be treated equally in the eyes of the law, has the exact same medical situation. And you don't have the same diagnosis person to person. And when you take 23andMe tests, sometimes they'll tell you you belong to certain origins or certain regions. And there are even health recommendations based on the regions that you might be in, right? Some people could be out in the sun for longer, right? So maybe some people don't need sunblock as sooner because they don't get burned as easily, right? Same thing could probably be said with food. Same thing could be said with medicine. But this woman, as soon as she heard black different, based on the fact that, you know, blacks got experimented on in the past in America without their consent, or de-sterilized without their consent, that this automatically and inherently would be bad. But RFK Jr. is full of conspiracy theories, and a lot of them excite Americans because it makes them think they're finally getting back to justice or truth and fair honesty. And some people think he's completely off the Richter and he's part of the problem. And I want to know on either side what you guys think about this. Please let me know in the comment section and follow me for more content like this.
Well, I'm going to say this. It didn't benefit RFK nothing at all for him to say what he said up there. And that was basically give black people's immune system a compliment. He said we have way more antigens in our body. If you don't know what an antigen is something that the body creates, or that's something that's a part of the immune system that fights off foreign invaders, right? So we have more tendency to fight off foreign invaders than any other ethnic group on the planet. Is that saying that we're better? No. That's just saying our biological makeup is totally different. So if you were going to give us a vaccine, the ingredients in that vaccine would have to be tailored to our biological makeup, so we won't have any adverse effects. It doesn't mean that we don't need vaccines. It just means that we don't need the vaccine a white person may necessarily need, or an Asian person may necessarily need, because we're all made up differently biologically. We may have arms, legs, heads, eyes, ears, and all of those things, but when it comes to how our body processes things internally, it's totally different.
Donald Trump's White House press secretary. She is 27 years old, y'all. She is 27 years old. She is a new mother. She just had a baby, and she is the youngest White House press secretary we've ever had. This is Caroline Leavitt and her son, okay? You can see her. She has blonde hair. She's got a tan face. She's young. She's pretty. She's smart. And if you guys happen to see the White House, the press room briefing yesterday, OMG, is she amazing. She stood at that podium where Karine Jean-Pierre stood before her, and before her that Jen Psaki, whatever the crap that redhead crackhead's name is, where they stood and needed notes and needed all kinds of stuff in order to lie to the American people, because, you know, they had to make sure they didn't mess up their script, right? But Caroline Leavitt stood at that podium yesterday, and every question that was given to her, she had an answer for. And I'm pretty sure it was, I think it was Peter Doocy, I hope not, but it was somebody like him who asked her a question about illegal immigration and how President Trump said he was going to be sending back the criminals first, and so why were regular illegal immigrants sent back and not just murderers and rapists and whatever else? And Caroline Leavitt, I mean, she smirked and looked at him like he was stupid, which I immediately was like, I'm not gay, but I love you. You know what I mean? She looked at him like he was stupid because, and then she said, well, he did send back criminals. If you have crossed this border illegally, that is a felon and you are a criminal. Therefore, every single person that has been deported under the Trump administration is a criminal because they are illegal. And she said, and I'm not quoting, but it's along these lines, just because the previous administration didn't understand what that meant, now you guys have to get on board with what it actually means. If you cross the border illegally, you are a criminal because it is illegal. Illegal and criminal go hand in hand with each other. Just because the last administration wanted to gloss it over and pretend like coming into this country illegally, it wasn't a felony and wasn't a criminal activity, doesn't make that right, because it is a criminal activity.
And she is amazing, man. I love when she addresses the press. She don't leave no gaps. She don't leave no room for them to go clip out things that she say. She don't leave anything, bro. And it's crazy because he selected her basically because she had the skills. You can tell she is super skillful, man. And it don't even matter the color, man. It's like sometimes we want to see color just because, man.
Come on, I'll get along.
Please remain seated until further instructions by the captain.
Oh my gosh. Please get us on here.
So sorry, this is
Come on, I'll get along.
Please remain seated until further instructions by the captain.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, I understand why people panic. And I understand why the flight attendants and the staff on the plane wants people to remain calm. But if you're flying on a plane and your plane is about to take off and you look over to the right, you see one of the engines on fire. There's no sitting down. There's going to be a lot of panic.
If Donald Trump can convince the Republican Congress to get rid of the income tax for a system of tariffs instead, ladies and gentlemen, the economy will absolutely explode like you have not seen since the Reagan years, maybe bigger. The explosion of capital and investment in the United States and the basically $30,000 or so raise a lot of people are going to get will absolutely blow our economy up like you've never seen before.
Those are facts. Because if there is no tax, then that's more money in the pockets of the people to do what? Spend. And what spending does, it circulates money. And what the circulation of money does, right? It empowers the economy. And what happens when the economy empowers, right? Empowers the people. And then it repeats itself over and over again. How could you not see that? And yes, Trump said that, okay, yes, me raising these tariffs on these countries may cause small disruptions. But I'm sure people will understand. Trump knows money, man. And if I've never trusted him in anything else, I could show trust him in money. This is a billionaire, man.
The black communities in the United States historically have been severely handicapped by the party that they have been convinced to vote for over and over and over again. They've been made promises to, they've been lied to, they've been told that their schools were going to get money, that they were going to get economic impact in their neighborhoods, and it never happens because the people that convince them to vote for them are the most conniving, snaky, dirtiest politicians in the world, and they steal the money, and then they leave the black communities to flounder. That's been going on for 60, 70 years. That should be fixed before we go over to some place in some other part of the world and try to help those people. Like, those are American citizens that need to be fucking handled and treated just like every other American citizen. If I was a black person in America, in a black neighborhood, a black urban area that's been run down, and I see them sending hundreds of billions of dollars to other places like Israel, Ukraine and wherever else, what the dude? Look at my neighborhood.
Right.
Look at my community.
Well, I'm going to say this and I'm going to leave it here. As you can see, that guy took the words right out of my mouth. Instead of black people being mad about those things that the last administration was doing that literally took food out of our mouths, and not just our mouths, I'm just saying every American, but mostly ours, because our communities need help. Let's be honest. And yes, we have tried helping them ourselves, but there's a certain level of crime that we cannot handle. And we need the government to step in, right? Come to us and see what ways they can prevent this crime and how they can approach this crime. Things like that. It wouldn't even take trillions of dollars to do this. But even if you did spend trillions of dollars in these communities, these are communities within the U.S. So this man took every word that I have always been saying out of my mouth. Instead of black people getting upset about what the last administration did, they are so worried about Donald Trump taking away Black History Month, which he didn't, taking away DEI, and that would affect us getting jobs, which it won't. All of the things that literally don't affect us, that's what they worried about, because they're listening to these unseasoned content creators who tell them what they want to hear to get their emotions riled up, instead of listening to somebody who's going to tell them the truth and be honest with them about what's actually going on, who will actually pull up an article, read the article to them, and try to break it down to where they understand what's exactly going on. But I think in order for us to see a shift in things, this misinformation has got to stop. And I think Trump is going to put an attack on that too. But we won't know until we get there. If you ask me, I think the tariffs are good. I think it's going to put America back in this rightful strongman place. And if you don't think it's good, that's fine too, because you're worried about prices going up just a tad bit. Prices went up with the last administration, and we didn't even have tariffs like that. So what difference is it going to make? If prices got to go up a little bit for the greater good of the entire country so we can live better in the future, I'm all for it. But if prices go up due to inflation and it's an internal thing, and the rich still get richer and we get poorer, there's no good outcome in it. I don't want that. You can have that, but I don't want that. I'm thinking about the future here. I got children growing up in this country, and I got to make sure that it's going to be pretty decent for them when they're growing up. But it is what it is. And ain't nothing more I can say on that.